Well, today I thought we would get out the Cricut and make a large basket. Stay tuned and see how fun and easy this project is. All right, what you see in front of me are all the pieces we are going to need for our baskets. And in fact, extra pieces, because I gave you guys extras and myself extras of all of these strips except for these two. These, and these. There's extra pieces, and all of these strips are longer than they need to be. That way you can trim to fit. And like I had a couple that kind of tore trying to come out when I went to take them off the paper from the Cricut, cutting them. So if something gets crooked or cockeyed, you'll have extras, so don't worry about it. So and also these come on 2 PNGs, because if you're using an 8.5 by 11 inch sheet of paper, you'll need 2 sheets of paper. The big sheet, the group of stuff here, I think I'm going to call basket frame, and this will be called weavers. And so you could even cut these out of a different color. So I'm going to put these off to the side in a safe location where I don't lose them. Same with all of these strips, because right now we need these pieces, and we are going to need, you need to keep track, the one there's only 2 of is slightly smaller than the one there's 3 of. So in the pattern, this is a free downloadable pattern. You can get the link to download this pattern from the blog post that goes with this video, just like always. This time inside of the file there will be an additional sheet, because like I said, there's 2 PNGs, a text file that will tell you a little bit about downloading. And be warned, if you haven't used your Cricut in a few weeks, they've updated and it's actually a little simpler to upload your pattern. You just have to make sure that you upload it correctly as a single layer. Patterns are free to use. I'll have all the rules in the blog post, but basically you can make as many of these little baskets as you want. You can keep the baskets, you can sell the baskets, you can give the baskets away. All I ask is that you do not sell or share my pattern, because the pattern takes me quite a while to come up with. This one especially was proved to be quite complicated to get quite the way I wanted it. And the only compensation I get for my time I spend doing these patterns is when you guys hop over to the blog post or watch the video. So if somebody else wants the pattern, send them to do those things. Let them watch the video and see the blog post, and then they too can download their own copy. So I am spreading glue on the pieces. I'm gluing the 3 larger bases together and the 2 smaller inner bases together. And you'll notice I'm not using white cardstock today. I decided to use craft cardstock so I don't have to paint. For this, it doesn't matter if it fades a little bit over time. It'll actually look nicer, and you could use yours out of any color you want. It's all up to you. So I'm going to finish gluing this, put the last layer on this, and then these will need to be dry just like our others. These will need to dry all the way before I go to the next step, because I don't want them to have any issues. So once this glue dries, it's a nice hot day today, so it shouldn't take too long for this to dry. When this glue dries, I'll come back and we can start assembling our frame for our basket. So I'll see you then. All right, now that my glue is dried, I'm going to set the larger of the 2 pieces aside. Now make sure that you are setting aside the large piece. We want to work on the smaller one right now. And we're only using the pieces off that first page, the one that's labeled frame. We're not using the ones off the weavers yet. So I'm taking the 2 longest pieces. And like I said, these are made longer than we're going to need. We're actually going to trim this when we get these all put on. We're going to trim it down. I felt that was easier than trying to make sure it was centered and all that, because that can be kind of hard So I'm going to make a diagonal line of glue. And remember, there are extras of these pieces, so don't worry, you're going to have leftovers. There's only 2 of these, and we will need both of those. But do your best to kind of center it, but if it's not perfect, that's okay. You need at least 1 inch on each side. But I've made a couple of these off camera to get this pattern right, and it was so much easier to trim everything to size than to try and get it sized exactly on the first try and get everything centered. Then get this one. You're going from corner to corner. And I am going to use a small ball tool just to help me push that down into the glue. Let's pick it up and make sure we are coming off the corners the way we want to. Yep. All right. Now, I am going to work with these long ones first, I think. We're going to have to do this in a couple of steps, but I think it's fine to do one set along with these. Coat the back of this with some glue, and I'm just using regular tacky glue, and with a toothpick I can spread it pretty thin. This is all going to be hidden when we assemble our basket. We won't see this part. Now again, try and center, but it doesn't have to be perfect. And if you end up with some that are shorter, then your basket just won't be as tall. Now this piece tore when I took it off the mat, so I'm going to put that to the side. I should have plenty of extras, so I don't need to worry about it. Lay this one down next to the first one. And I do like to start from the center and kind of work out. Try and make sure they're straight. And this will be easier for you guys because you can have your head right here. I'm trying to keep my head and my hair out of the camera so you guys can see what's going on. Yeah, I'm going to put these over to the side more. And I found that depending on how I spaced them, sometimes I used more than I did other times. I should have a couple extra though. You will need a little bit of space so that you'll be able to weave. I'm lining that last one up with the edge. Let's go ahead and line this one up. This one has a kind of a banged up spot, but it's at the end where we're probably going to be cutting it off. Get you lined up. Come on. So it looks like the way I lined them up today, I have 1 extra. One time I made one of these and I had 2 extra. Or 3, I think. So it's all in how you space it here. How far apart or how close together you get them. And I do like a little space. I think the basket turns out better. Now, I am going to put either a piece of wax paper or parchment paper over this because I don't want this to stick. And I'm going to put my ruler and my little speaker over it just to hold everything flat and give that glue some time to start drying and setting up. Once this glue has dried somewhat, I'll come back and we'll put the rest of the pieces on. I'll be right back. All right, the glue has had time to set up a bit. So So now I'm going to spread some glue over this surface. And we are going to repeat the same procedure, but going across using the shorter pieces. And once again, I'm going to try my best to evenly space these and get them centered pretty well. Like I said earlier, they are a little longer than they need to be. And there should be extras. Hopefully the sound of construction across the street is not carrying through to the camera's mic too badly. I have been listening to, they're repaving a parking lot or fixing holes in potholes in the parking lot across the street from me. And I've been listening to backup beepers for the last like 3 or 4 hours almost constantly. I can't get hold of it. All right, well, I am going to go ahead, repeat the same process here. I'm going to put the wax paper back down on top of it, put some weight on it, and get this dried at least part way. And when this is dried enough that the little pieces won't move around, we'll come back and we'll do the next step. All right, now that glue has mostly dried, and since it's not completely dry, I'm not going to try and use my knife and cut this that way. I'm going to line my ruler up with the edge as best I can. I'm going to draw a line, and we will still probably do some more trimming after we weave the sides. But this way I've got it neatened up a bit. Yeah, this does tend to kind of be, the strips will move around a bit at this point. Get that last side done. And then just take a pair of scissors. Now, if you let it dry all the way, you could probably use your knife to trim it, but I don't feel like waiting that long. And I'm going to leave the corners long until I get everything put together. Now, the side that has that on it, I'm actually going to get my glue out. I'm going to take my glue I had out. I'm going to put glue on here. I'm going to pick it up. It'll be a little easier to spread the glue. Hopefully I'm staying under camera. And don't worry if you get glue up there. That will be covered up. Now take the larger piece. Remember, it's got 3 layers where our other one had 2. This on here. And put a lid over our glue, set it off to the side. And now this glue needs to set up until it won't move around very much. Once this glue has time to set, I'll come back and we'll go on to the next step. Oh, and I'll probably put a weight on this again too. So I'll be back when this dries a bit. All right, my glue has dried enough that I'm ready to move on. So now our next step is to fold these pieces up. And make sure that you have the smaller piece that's only 2 layers on top, the bigger piece on the bottom. so you'll have a nice bottom on your basket. And you'll have to kind of work around with your pieces a little bit. And take one of these long pieces. We'll need some glue. And take one of your long pieces. Now there hopefully is plenty here to do what we're doing. And you can always make your basket a little shorter than I make mine. Then you'll have even more extras. Pick a spot where you want to start. I'm going to start here on the middle of this long piece. It's got glue on the back side. And I'm going to put that right there. Kind of line it up with the back. So it's lined up with that piece right there. See if I can get you guys down just a little bit. Make sure that this is even with the bottom. And this is easier to do when you're not trying to do it on camera. And now this glue will need to dry for a bit because we need that glue to set up so that when we go to weave, we won't knock this loose. So I'm going to let this sit here and let the glue dry. When the glue is set up enough that I can work, I'll be back and I'll show you how to start weaving. All right, once your little spot of glue has dried enough that everything's holding together, I like to go ahead and figure out which ones are going to go in front for the first couple of rows here and actually glue this. Because the first row is the hardest one to get going. Just make sure you've got over one, under one, over one, under one, all the way to the corner. Okay, just a drop of glue behind those. And get this. Make sure everything's bent up properly and those are in place. And you might need to hold it for a few minutes to make that glue stay where you want it. Now we're going in front of this one, so we'll go behind this one, behind this one. After this, it'll be a lot easier. As you can tell, mine are a little bent up because this is a second or third time getting this started. The getting started row is always the hardest. Make sure that you are in the right spot, that you've got the right ones in front. And again, and don't have this pulled too tight. You don't want it to be folding in. A little bit of glue on these 4 pieces on the end. Just take your time. Fold these up, making sure that your piece you're weaving with is parallel to the base. Making sure you're going over and under correctly. And hold that in place. And I'm going to continue around to where I started. When I get back to where I started, I'll come back and we will start the second row. I'll be right back. All right, I worked my way all the way around and now I am back. This is where we started right there. So I'm going to trim this off. See, they're just a little bit longer than they need to be. That way you've got a little leeway there. And I do find a ball tool, dotting tool, or something like that is very helpful. Glue that down. Now the next one, you'll want to start behind the one next to where you started last time. So I'm going to have to put new glue on here. Just a little bit of glue. Put on there. Hold it until it's a little bit set up and then just Continue weave. Oops. All right, let's try that again, because I think I was completely off camera. So dip in the glue, and then this is the one we started behind last time, is this one. So I'm going to stick this right there behind that one. Making sure I'm only glued to that one strip. I'm going to hold that in place until it has set up. And then I'm going to weave this piece all the way around. If I feel I need to tack it down with glue from time to time as I go around, I will. I may or may not. It's hard to say, depending on how this all goes. When I get about 2 or 3 more rows done, I will come back and we will see how tall this has gotten. So I'll see you then. All right, I have 4 rows woven in, and my basket is about 7/8 of an inch from the bottom to the top of that row. You can make yours another row deep if you want. I'm not going to. And I've glued all of the pieces on the front. I've glued pretty much every other piece to the top. And this doesn't have to be perfectly even because we are going to, when you get to the top, you will have some places where, well, it's not going to matter. It's going to be covered. That one slipped in behind the top. But that's okay because we're going to be gluing another strip over the front of this. Now, I have another strip, and I'm going to coat this pretty generously with glue. I won't coat the whole thing. I'll probably do about that much at a time. Where did I start? Right here. And just glue that on so that it covers that top edge. I'm going to let this sit for a few minutes and hold it. Once I know it's not going to go anywhere, I'll put glue on the next chunk and I'll work my way around. And when I get the whole top done, I'll come back and we'll look at the basket. All right, I decided to come back and do this. I'm going to actually back the camera up just a little bit, just in case I was off camera on that last segment. I'm not 100% positive. When I go to edit, I will find out, and if I was, then you'll be seeing this part. So just put some glue in here. Line that up with the top of your basket. If you want to, you could take another strip and put on the inside edge. I'm not going to this time, but it's certainly an option and it will make your basket even stronger. If you're not happy with how the bottom edge looks, you could add another strip around that edge too. So I'm going to work my way the rest of the way around here and let this dry. Once this is dry, I'll come back. And there is the finished basket. I love how this came out. Now I do have this many left, and I actually ended up throwing away, I don't know, 3 or 4 because I got all banged up in the process of trying to weave them in here. So that's why you've got extras. You could, if you're not happy with how this area looks, you could glue one around there. That would look really pretty too. You could also alternately, to make this a little stronger, you could glue another piece on the inside to make that look a little more finished on the inside. But I'm just going to leave mine like this. You can sit it in almost any room in the dollhouse. It could go out on the front porch, which I think is where mine's going to be. I mean, this could be a blanket basket in the wintertime. It could be any number of things in the dollhouse. I love how this came out. I hope you enjoyed this project. I tried to get some pictures. I didn't get as many today as I would have liked because many things, many steps on this, I had to be holding it with one hand at least in order to get it to dry. And I didn't have anyone to take pictures, so I don't have that many hands. So I got as many pictures as I could, and I'll try to explain anything that I find when I'm editing the video. If I find things that I maybe didn't explain too well, I try to go back and explain them better in the blog post sometimes. So be sure and hop over there. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure and hit the like button. Leave me a comment. What kinds of things would you like to see in future videos? If you enjoy my content and haven't subscribed, I encourage you. Hit that subscription button and the notification bell so you know when I put up a new video. Thank you very much for watching today, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.